been on it once. we talked about having Caterpillar and 100 years of Caterpillar, the question was asked is, who are we going to get to speak on the dinner? Well, there's only one bloke who can get to speak on birthday, well, certainly in Portland, where I come from, and that's Martin Weavers. So, Martin, we're going to hand over to you. When we asked Martin, we did not realise, well, nobody knew, what a significant year 2024 would be.
I'm Martin Weavers. Second generation, one of the Weaverses basically. Where was I going with this? I need to go. I'm not going to do speeches, I don't do speeches, I do a story. Right, and my story tonight is on as we say, we're earth movers, and that's what we've been, born and raised. The movers is into bulldozing. My dad, and Roger's dad, and these blokes here are the Weavers brothers, the originals. The guys on the end, there's 5, 2, 4, 5 of them basically. There's Len at the other end, Uncle Victor in the middle, Uncle Ted was the guy with the striped jacket on, Uncle Ozzy was next. And I always say, my dad is a good looking one, the one at the end. That's what I always say. They always dressed like that, as we all know that generation did. But that was the blokes. That's the blokes that started. They were passionate blokes about, they lived in Tramwell Street in Portland basically, that was the old house up there. And then they got going. They were passionate blokes about, they did start at Strathkeller, I think, didn't they, both out here? And then they moved to Portland in the earlier days. And then when the war came, the brothers, when the brothers came back, they were keen to get farming. They bought the 7-1 that Roger's got, Ethan's got down the back there today. It was one of the first tractors that came down. And then they worked on from there. They were keen to do land clearing, etc. So they bought the dozer, bought bush blocks, they were passionate farmers. And away they went from there. That's my dad basically, and the blitz and the truck they used to shift it around. This is Roger's, Ethan's D7 that's down the paddock down there today, the odd one that we just got, Ethan just got the award for tonight. That's its brand new Roger, I think, isn't it? About where it was, just about. The guys at the top, as I said, the young fellas at the time, Ozzy and Uncle Ted and Uncle Victor there, they were the blokes, that was the time, that's what they did. And then away they went. The clearing stuff. My wife says I go too fast with this, so if I go too fast with it, you better yell out and tell me, otherwise I'll take all the time. Uncle Victor again. I think that's my dad, I think down the corner, this bloke down here, I think that's my dad. Monty. The tree pusher, the word was that these blokes invented it, I suppose they did, but it was always a fairly logical thing to me, but either way, they'll take the credit for that, so that's fine. The early days and way we went. Now we moved them around. I'm not sure that one's appropriate. It might not be a Caterpillar. They had a couple of TD80s at the time too, I think. But still, if the mechanism was out, they shifted it.
Next slide.
Accounts were always done like this with the Weavers brothers thing at the top. This one was P&R. This was Ted and Raymond. That was my dad and Uncle Ted basically. And as you can say, 3 hours at £6 an hour for this one here in 1965. It was that one. My first dad had a D4 for the private work, for the work he used to do at home, for the land that he cleared at home. And that's where I probably started fiddling around with D4, of course. And then away we went. That's early days. My first days when I left school, basically, I'm a skiing mate. About 69 I left school. Now we moved about. Roger's part of that. Dad's first 17A, the C-Series one, without the turbo. About 1970 that one was taken. And then we got a bit later around that time when my brothers and the eldest brother of 3 basically, myself and Andrew is not here tonight, Lou's up the back, so we traded under Weavers Brothers. So we formed the company Weavers Brothers in 74 apparently. We were the young blokes those days. I can't get over that bit, but anyhow. The middle one's Lou down the back, so there you go. I think there's a lazy photo. There we are today. Lou's still the bloke in the middle. That's our D7 that's down the back. I'll talk a bit about the pair later on, so I've got a story on that one, but that's the 7 that's down the paddock with the story on the right, that one. Earlier days, 17A, C-Series and the D-Series. Our workshop basically was I always make the comment that it was our truck yard up in the place where we lived up in Tramwell Street at the time. Our maintenance was outside the little shed out there with the concrete strip up the middle. We used to crawl around underneath and then do all this sort of stuff underneath it. That's their workshop. Those are the days. And then we went on to the 17As. Did a lot of scrub work, a lot of clearing, all the way around. My guns are good. All clearing and ploughing basically. That's what we did too early days, myself and the brothers. 17As again. Then we got into second rotation pine clearing in South Australia, 77 as it said. And then we used to take these things over there. Cable blades, pine stumps, jumping over stumps, pushing, breaking up pine splash basically. That was good fun. You'd be breaking away and you get a big stump, you do it the wrong way, and then all of a sudden you're sitting on it, you have to muck around and 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 get him off again, the way you go again, again. That's what we did to get started. Coming home out of Wincote there 1 year. That was what we did, the way we came home. Now we're still doing it today, coming out of timber and still got the same thing on the back. Still just as cheeky. Yeah, this was in timber in the past year, basically this one. Anyhow, clearing in earlier days. Still more clearing in early days. We did quite a bit of, once again, we were tangled up with the forestry people in South Australia. This lot here was clearing, pine clearing in come on Sue, tell me. Yeah. No, it wasn't, this was earlier. This was run off the river. Donovan's, the back of Donovan's. Yeah. Just over the border in South Australia, that one was. Caroline, there we go, thank you. Yeah. Once again, chain it down and then heap it up. Chaining scenario, this was all good going this lot because it was all young small trees that got through. Away with it. Pull them down, stack them up. That was a good job those days. Then we got into some of the heavier timber we used to use the ball. I'm not sure whether a lot of people understand the use of the ball. Do we understand the use of the ball? A lot of people do, I suppose. Some don't, but there you are. The ball's role was that's a 10-footer, which is a big one, so it's 10 foot. So the chain on the other side is this big, basically. So when you got, it was used for height. So when you wanted trees and stuff heavier clearing, you used the height as your pulling thing, basically. So you're easier to pull over your knees rather than your ankles, basically, along that line. That's what that one was for. All black stuff, we did a lot of black stuff. We used to gobble up a lot of that black stuff at the night. Was it in here? Caroline, fires again, 76, 77. Cable blades and the D70s, the first D70s that we had. The 270As. Pine sticks. 4 pine sticks. Good fun. And we got our maintenance, so we had to change tracks or get into somewhere to get the pins and bushes turned. And my dad would bring a little truck out and we'd get them off and load them up like that, so that's what we did, didn't we? That's what we did, folks. Yeah. This is a premium private block of our own, basically down Decibel Way, same scenario. Passionate farmers doing for ourselves, basically same thing. Tidy it all, rake it up, and we used to drag the chain around then to level it all off the country that we just done and chase all the rabbits out. More of that clearing stuff. More of it. Okay, we did a lot of it. Yeah. The dent in the roof up in this one here was a fire episode up in the bush one year. Fire, up in the fire, 11 o'clock at night, chasing the fire, big stag up the top, pushing, shook the top out, that's where it came. I think it came in this far up the top of the we wore that for a long time before we got rid of that canopy, but there you are. A good old D70, that was the first one we ever had. Then we got into it, had a thing for scoops. Always had a thing for scoops. Crazy, but we always had a thing for scoops, even tractor ones. There we go. I'll talk more about scoops. We fiddled around with scoops, doing different things all the way through. One of our 7s. More 7s. This one was called, we got it from Vanilla somewhere, it's a second-hand tractor. The guys at under it was called Gersbach and Johnson. So we used to nickname that one as Gersbach. We was called him Gersbach. all get known for a tractor, don't we? Whoops, you like some quiet. So, second rotation pine clearing, as I said to you, we did thousands of acres of that sort of stuff that we did. It was just, that's what we did. The rates were good for that, we built them ourselves and used to do that. That's pine clearing again, that was for pine clearing, heavy country of lions. Big heavy country. More clearings, we do a lot. Take it down and push it up. Yeah. It's a bit boring, you know. We used to boil a lot, quite a bit actually those early days, different ways. We always had a special place.
How heavy was the ball?
Yeah, really, it was shell. It was a beauty because it still hasn't got a dent in it. So it has a band around it which is nearly inch thick. It would probably only be about 4 tonne or 5 tonne. It's not very heavy at all. The axles through it used to be stud axles either side with a big washer on the end of it. Basically, we'd be pulling and pull the end out. We got sick of that. So one of our engineering blokes, and I'll show you that in a minute. I'll talk about that part in a minute. I'll that conversation. Here we are here. We got to it, then we put a big shaft right through it. That fixed it. We just went straight through with one big shaft. You pull it on the same shaft either side. That was how we used to get into it. We still have a thing outside our front gate down at the workshop down in Portland actually, but it's a bit of a monument to DLR. We're going to have to find a home for it shortly. So that one. Enough of the whole thing. This paper put us on our feet basically, as the contractors, myself and the brothers, employed one or two in those earlier days, and then we build on from there. This is hotline at the smell of Portland aluminium. We were part of subcontractor boards at the time out there. We were out there for 2 years, I think, with that. Basically, 2 D7Es, 3 brothers. One bloke would do 12 hours a day from 6 till 6. And then go home. The other blokes would do 6 till 6 of the daytime, and then they'll probably get on the night time. So I think we did that for 4 months, I think. Then each week we change around. So I'm doing day shift this week and night shift next week. We just rotated that around. Made a lot of money, made a lot of fun. It was all part of setting yourself up. That's what we did. This is all the smeller. Early days building the smeller. All smeller.
You took those rolls down?
Yeah. Quite rows. Yeah.
Was on one, the acres only took 1 gallon.
Did you? No, we used to be 2 gallon.
Sick in the mud.
No, you got to pick your spots. Did maintenance out the smelter. There was always maintenance to do. We didn't have lights on there. Look at that. Smelter. Smell it. We've got enough of that, have we? Did amongst the big scrapers, it was all good fun those times. With the mates, we've got a Sunday, used to catch up with our maintenance on Sunday, and then into again on Monday. One of Donald's D8, the one in the middle, the D7 on the end, and our D7 over on this end up here. Yeah, it's all open cabs. And then this here is the tractor in the yard now, the D7 that's out in the yard. Once again, as I said, I'll come back to that. That's got a story of its own, that one, particular one. That's when it was when we purchased it originally. It came from the Portland Harbour Trust. It was a tender thing that we won. We carted it all up. We went and took it away. That's 35 years later we got it back. Still a good tractor. Still puts in this. We got tangled up the Ash Wednesday fires then, basically, because we'd been involved in South Australian pine clearing, etc. We then got involved in with the Ash Wednesday fires after that in '83. And then we went on from there. We did 6 years over there doing this sort of work. This tractor here is the D7E that's out in the paddock at the moment, in the early days. And this is the type of stuff that we used to tear down and then push up, and it just went on for 6 years we did that. Different ways of going about it, different bits and pieces. Our old D7E, once again, the one that's out in the paddock, out there now, that's her there now, in her day. In her day. Some of the work we did. Big paddocks. These are something like 600 acre paddocks they had. And the forest got really good with it because, you know, being contractors, it was always summer type work, summer, and then whether you twiddle your fingers all the time. But because they had that much of it, they caught on that, look, we've got wet country, we've got dry country. So we would do the wet country in the summertime and do that, and then the winter time they would put us back towards Further and Millicent out there. And this was that type of country out there, and then we would work all the way through for a change. We had consistent work in front of us for that whole 6 years. Tear it down, pull it up, stack it on. It just went on, just amazing, staggering actually, the country that with the fire does, that's for sure. We all know that anyhow, the destruction of the fires. That was a forest contractor over there. Once again, we were targets for finding these sort of things or getting involved in these sort of things. Tended for that one and brought it home. Got it at the right price, brought it home, targeted it up, and here she was again, ready to go. And we worked it for a number of years as well. We did a job at, we used to do a bit of seismic exploration stuff with the seismic people those days, planting cortex in the ground, this sort of thing. And this was the job we did up over the Murray, Mildura. We took the thing over the pump, and then we used to cut these lines for 4 or 5 or 6 kilometres up in the bush. There's run rolls of cortex on the ground. They don't do it like that anymore. Take all the fun out of it. And then we were working in Tarpina in South Australia, pushing up black sticks, and I came home one night and I said to the wife, I want a bigger tractor. So she said, all right. She says, I want another baby. So I got the D8 and she got and the two girls were always part of it. The 2 girls are up the back there at the moment, and the boys over there as well, so there you are. So it was a win-win situation, of course. There's a little try. And there's the tractor. It was a beauty. There's Curly Breen, one of the guys that was here today. Shane Curl's not here tonight because he was part of this as well. And Curl said you could pick fly shit out of pepper with that thing. He said it was that good. It was just a beauty. Yeah. That same tractor, it was a good one, that one. Down at Port of Portland, working, dredging material back into the fill areas. Unloaded the D8 originally. Well, chopper rolling, forestry chopper rolling in South Australia. We did hours and hours and hours of dragging those things around doing chopper roll with part of our trade, part of living, I suppose you would call it. You have to shift it around early days, like us all. Then we got into this blue gum mounting, like a lot of us here have done, or been doing. We did our share of that. Still more clearing for trees. That one's always a popular one. You get a little bit of that, don't you? Yeah. I think that one's in the Hayward down in Hayward too, I think, isn't it? Yeah. We used to turn our hand to anything basically that we could do. We could put our gear towards. Rock wall in Portland, basically this is the Hamilton Pastoral Museum towards the Dutton Way in Portland. We had to refill the corner and then fill the corner back up again. Rock wall work, we got involved in that. We played around and got into stables a bit as well, as a growing business, one way or another. I always like the scripts. I always like the scripts. We had 140, no 130, that was a 130 that one. Forestry work, fire breaks, etc. Once again, it was all survival. So was this, it was all survival. Yeah. There's this bloke here, this was Curly Green. Curl was here today, actually, one of the operators we used to have. Curl was with us for something like 20 years, actually. Yeah. And we were in the D8s basically, and then we were sort of wanted to go a bit further. And then there was some up for tender in Tasmania, the big hydro machines. And we went down to have a look at those, and there was 2 down there, I think, this one and this one. I think they were. So we came down, had a look and worked out what we were going to do. We tendered for them, actually, and the guy rings back and says, well, which one do you want? Well, what do you mean, which one do you want? Which one do you want? He said, you have both if you want. Well, anyhow, after a restless night's sleep, my wife just informed me this tonight. that was on their advice that we take the pair of them, so we bought them home. So we sort of, like I thought at the time, scrounged up the money and put them all together, did the logistics and got them from Tullaroad on the west coast back out to Burnie, put them on a boat and brought them home. We brought them home and tied them up a little bit, and they went, expected to go off as a business, and away you go. They went off as a business really this way, they went back over, they went off that hard. They just went off, and just as a business, they just were colossal to us. They were that big, the DAL with that V8 engine, an engine I didn't really fancy at the time, but I had to retract all that to colossal engine, colossal tractor. It was amazing. That's when they arrived at home, a pair of them. We bought them at West Mountain, 2 trucks waiting on the wall for us. We brought them both home together, one behind the other. My dad and uncle checked my heartbeat readers when we got home. And then they went to work in different other ways. It's overburdened as going Timburn line works. Then we got involved a bit in the wood chip loading, butt loading work in the wharf in Portland. We got the U-blade, which is actually the U-blade that's on the D7 out there now. It was sort of parked a bit, that blade. So we turned it into a wood chip basket, basically. Didn't we, Darryl? Darryl was involved in that one. So it was our big result. We turned it into that. That was what the people wanted down there in the D7. Set it up down in our workshop. Designed it basically ourselves. We used to fly on wind, basically. Just do what we think was the right way and it worked. That's how we went. Took it out there, and the wharf, he said, you won't push it. Oh, we showed it. She pushed it all right. He pushed it all right. Yeah. Really tough over at the time. It worked for years, that one down there, on that, doing that. Still involved, still doing it. Same scenario. We're still doing the same thing. We've been getting involved now with Portland, Geelong. The Geelong run D10 on their heat down there, the midway heat. Their D10 went down here a few months ago. They've done it 2 or 3 times with them. They drop out of their basket, drag their D10 out of the way. We take ours out, hook it up, so we're still doing the same thing with the D10. Yes. Mobile crushing, been a major part of our life. All the way through, we got into that early. Turn big rocks into little rocks, so that's what we did. Big rocks into little rocks. Still doing it, run 4 sets of that in between us. One of the, you can do whatever you can turn the dozer to, basically. Tucks in the wharf, got a rig outside, their big chain, they've got to drag it off the boat somewhere and they want to inspect it. So we got involved in dragging it off the wharf. That was a good, cushy little number. Or dragging one or their chain up. Anything you can turn the dozer to. Pride ourselves in the dozer. Then we, amongst other things, we got involved in Oaks Quarry down in Geelong. And we landed the gig down there to do one of the first major rehabilitations down there. I think we're down there 2 years, I think, the first session, I think, still really, basically. We had basic dozers to start what we had. We didn't have bigger scrapers like this, basically. We had to scrounge around and panic. There was a line of them in Phoenix. And upon a bit of advice from a mate that was over there at the time, we went over there and had a look. So there was a line of them. We were chasing 631s, and there must have been 30 of them, I think, in that line. And there was 4 37s right at the start. We walked past them for 2 days, looking at 31s down the other end of the line. And on the 3rd day, the auction day, just about, we looked over our shoulder, Lewis and I, and said, what about these ones here? So we went from 31s to bringing home 37s, which was quite a big radical jump, but once again, never looked back. 6 weeks later, they were on the site and going back in, back up. We shipped them out, had them shipped out from over there. The logistics of it was, it was part of it, but it was still, it's achievable. Then we got stuck in the basement for it. Scrapers and more scrapers. As I said to you, we don't find our skills. Work it all out, work the logistics out, which way you want it, put it in the right place. It was all part of the challenge. Practice as well. Over the other side here was that was some of the completed work that we did that first round. Where the tractors are now, that's the second round that we achieved. This is the sort of thing that we finished up doing. That was our job in the finish. Yeah. we run at the moment the D8, 3 D9s and the D10. Had a couple of D10s, we're back to 1 D10, so it still is a bit of the bigger tractor. Batesford still, some of the progress down at Batesford. More Batesford, plenty of progress. Big rocks, little rocks. Both ways. This was an interesting one. Like us all, we got to try everything. We had an offer to go, looked at attended to do backfilling channels up out of Horsham, up in the Wimmera. So we, once again, like us all, we go and look at it and we go back to our room, shut the door to where the dartboard is and throw some numbers at the dartboard. We landed the gig for it, so we landed the gig to backfill 600 kilometres of channel up there. This is the network of the channel at the time, basically. This is Horsham, and a lot of it's fed from Hall's Gap down here, and the blue lines are the arteries of the channel work. They are. A lot of those are little fingers off the side, but a lot of the main channels is the ones that these people had us working to do to backfill. So how are we going to fill them? So there were different ways of going about it. You can push them, but once again, I'll go back a bit further. This is how they were done. They were always fascinating. Somebody talked about the horses before. This is how they done those channels. I always find this one fascinating, really. With these things here. And then we were two of these. We wanted to use angle blades, very scarce commodity. And Jeffries will tell me up the back up here. We looked and looked and looked. And my dad was on the verge of, he was involved on the verge of passing away at the time. And Ian makes the comment, just after Dad passed away, we found these. Ian said, your dad found it for you. He was up there looking at it. Yeah, it wasn't too much. We picked them up in the yard. They were tucked in the back of the yard. We went to the yard in Brisbane or somewhere up like that. It was quite amazing how we just flipped on. But either way, we hooked them up and that's what we did. D8L and a D8N behind, basically up and down. How many passes do we? 4, 3.
3 laps per tractor.
Yeah, go around and around. Channel clearing, channel filling. And we topped it up then with a grader at 16 we had then to brush it off at the finish. We've always been Caterpillar. We've always been Caterpillar. Probably 90, 95, yeah, maybe all. It's not all, it's 95% Caterpillar. We always have been. I always proud about it, but it's always, I always go back there and use it. It's been a fantastic bit of year, there's no denying that. We always proud about the price, you all that great. Caterpillar and William Adams. We've stuck with William Adams, we know who the people are, we know how to talk to, we know who's not to talk to, we know who the account person is, we just know. It's been a marvellous relationship, I will say that with William. They won't want to take that to Matt Miller, but anyway, that's been sorry, I've lost it again. We developed a lot of things as it is these days. We've run a business up to nearly, there's been 50 and 60 and 70 people in this last few years that we've been engaged in. It's been tough this last few years, but we'll go back to that another time. Some of the work we did was some of this was work out at Bridgewater, the department wall out there. Whatever we could turn our gear to and our imagination to, nothing was ever too hard. We had a go. That way, reclamation walls, sort of walls down there. This is another part of the wall. Scrapers again, love those scrapers. Some people also say, what's the hook up thing do? How does that work? So that was the idea of that. But everybody knows how what that does. That all happens. Line of them. D8Ns that we got involved in. A D10. Dump trucks we're now running 3 or 4 of those basically. Yeah, T650 that's out the back of the cat in it, C16 cat in it. We had one of the cat trucks before, one of those great cat trucks. We had used to be that one, lost that one in the finish. We had some Chinese tourists run in the front of the head on and lost that one. Everybody walked away, believe it or not. Kenworth and Caterpillar. No, Kenworth and Cummins and Caterpillar on the back. Yeah. Working the top end of New South Wales, Carpenter Gear up there. We ventured fairly bright, wide and broad, basically. More stones taking, more scrapers and bushing. That's enough of this. This is the last lot, I think, of the scraper work that we did at Batesford just about. Did this lot with 57s. I'll talk about 57s in a minute if I've got the time, basically. We finished up doing the job at Anglesey with the 57s. We had 6 of those at the time, 4 37s and 6 of these bigger ones. Cap rock at the bottom. It's an amazing place because it used to, it had the black marl at the top. I think it's a bit better back here. It had the black marl at the top, this is the black marl, and then it went down onto where this second scraper is down here. It landed on a thick white cap, which is this cap here. And it was quite, we used to come down off the marl and then get our load there, hit the good stuff, and then away we would go. It gave us a decent floor to come down onto. Favourite thing to get the floor up, but still. Here we are trying to get the floor up. There's always a surface to get the floor up. The cap rock. And they wanted the line underneath that. Where the vehicles are parked, that's the line that these boats would use underneath. Yeah, more shifting, basically, again. Got our own several graders. Done our own bit of roadworks, civil. Anglesey Quarry, Anglesey Coal Mine, 57. This young bloke here is called Liam. He's a 17-year-old. Give him a month or so on that, he was running it. He was good. Yeah, we had a couple like that. We bought it from Portland, 17-year-olds. Trained them our way, and after a month or so, they were good. Yeah. 57 is an amazing tractor, which we probably, those involved in it, we know they're big things, but they're amazing tractor. Stuck with our Caterpillar. Big ones, little ones, it's all the way. Into the GPS stuff like everybody else. Big rocks, little rocks again. Cat all the way through. All the way through. A couple of years ago we did a job at top end of New South Wales. We won the D11, so we went down D11. We ran a D11 for a couple of years. Big tractor, we all know that. Is that there, Ren? One of our loaded basically. We get a bit of that. You'll get that, Blake, don't you? You'll get that too, don't you? You'll get that, Blake. It's not all beer and skins. Yeah, a bit of that. Bit of that. Yeah.
Stewie's first day.
Bit of that. That was a Stewie. My dad would say, when you get them like that, so that's when the hard work starts.
Don't drive in the wet bit.
Yeah, that's it, exactly right. Yeah. Bit of that. Bit of that too. Bit of all that, we all know that, but you've got to slip it in here because it's not all good and skittles all the time. Yeah.
Right foot down.
Yeah.
Slippery, we're going fast enough.
Yeah, it's all part of the deal. We've been going, this one is a civil job we did for part of road transport down at Tirrandara and Yamba. You all heard of the big pothole, that was the big hole, that the cave thing down at Yamba, basically, that popped up down there. And the grader driver was grading along, and then all of a sudden this popped up. But I've lost it. Here it is here. I'll come back to the other one in a minute. This was the hole that turned up and in the grader plate. But after you dug it out properly, this is what it involved. That was the hole. It took them. We told them right from the word go, this is how you fix it, just let us get out of the way and let us do our job. 8 months it took them to work out how to come back and say, oh, we'll do it like that. 8 months. See through your fingers. I'll go back to the other one. You've got to have this one here. Fortunately, once again, nobody got hurt. Hey, you don't change tyres like that. early day workshop, that's what we did, that's how it worked. Basically, we all go that, we'll build it up. There we are, this is where we are today. Built this place especially for ourselves. We went in there in 2003, so we've been in a bit over 22 years or something. There's no denying the business, the way it's grown, we've outgrown it. That's where we've gone to now. And there's our ball at the front still. There's our icon at the front. The maintenance stuff, which we all do, we all know all about it, how it all works. It all costs money, but that's what we've got to do. We've got to fix it properly. Unfortunately, I've had we've been very, very fortunate to have a good team of people around us and experience of fixing this stuff properly, basically. We had pride ourselves on doing it in-house, because we take the attitude once it goes out the gate, we've lost control of it. So there'd be 8 blokes to be running on that floor in there, a couple of boiler makers and 6 other guys, but we would always be able to fix it and sort it out. And there's no denying the parts that William Adams are there's always available.
What's your gantry lift?
What's that?
What was your gantry lift?
10 tonne. When we built the place, we put the rails in, and we didn't put the gantry in at the top for 2 years. And the worst thing I ever did. I should have spent the money written it. It's all about dollars, isn't it? Yeah. Should have did. Don't put it in the first day the same when we did everything else. But it was must be. Yeah.
What's your height?
I think the doors are 16, no, the door's about 6 metres, so it must be well up above that. Yeah. Works well.
Yeah.
That was the early days out of the other place. We went there before we went into town. With the CHK maintenance. This one, my particular family, it's the 2 daughters and the son up the back, have got involved in the sand pit in Geelong. And we set this up on a DAT, basically on the DAT that we've got down there. And we use it, the scoopy thing, to drag it, cut material for about 170, 80, 200 metres from out of the bottom of the pit, along the edge of the pit, up to the works where we're cleaning and washing sand. So we've set this up, we've got the bucket thing out of New Zealand, set the hydraulics up a bit on the back. So we set it up like this, and this is how we run it. It's old school to a degree, and I keep looking at it and thinking, it's old school, are we really doing it the right way? It involves one bloke, we're not mucking around with digger, we've got a digger down there, but double trucks, etc., which we don't have. You're looking at 3 pieces of plant to do the same job. So we've elected to go this way, and then we can unhook it and park it, we can do dozer work, we can do off-site work. It just gives it other options. But it's old school, but it still works. One of the biggest works we've ever undertaken was the rehabilitation of the Anglesey coal mine. The first few pictures here are the ones of the site in its earlier days, as we priced it. We then had to go to and source the extra plant needed. We had 4 637 scrapers at the time, but we needed more big ones, 657s. We found 2 locally and sourced 4 more out of Queensland. Total of 10 scrapers altogether. Together working with a D9, D8T, a D6 dozers with GPS, a 16 grader, water cart, 740 dump trucks and diggers are all part with the gear involved to do the project. 2+ years, staff of 20. Major plus was that it was all downhill cutting. The variety of the photos here paint the picture of the operation and the depths of the work involved. The basic finished. We've talked about part of our gear, still the gear. I think there's enough of the gear that we've seen. That's basically the picture we are. New South Wales looking at this, and that's where we are. We are. We've always prided ourselves on being a family in business. We've all got our families and that to be thankful for. My family's here at the back today to support me, basically a few other rebels down the back, and a few other cohorts here, which is really lovely to come and support. This is the 3 brothers, Andrew here in the corner and Tanya. Basically, Lewis is up the back up there somewhere, but that's all us kids. We tried to do succession planning for a couple of years as a family business. It didn't work for us, but that doesn't matter on us. We didn't fail at that, it just didn't suit us, but we put the attempt in. And at the end of the day, the kids had other visions, and that's lovely, that's fine. No, there was no hassle with that, but it was a lovely way of working a business to a degree. We did that for, 3 or 4 years, I think. 10 grants. The bloke just up the back, here's Graham Wolf. Graham said, he'd be one of our main cohorts in amongst all of this. but we are still basically still a civil family business work together. Brianna up the back, they're part of the family, one of the other boys' family, Lewis is up the back, we're still a family business. But, you can say, it goes back to, the next one is, how do you first watch the rest of the work? But the other part of that is, it's the end of an era for us. We've elected in the last 4 or 5 months to, that's enough. We're finished. This has been a really good gig to us. It's one of like it's been a marvellous good gig, but we're just over it. That's enough. I'm in my 70s now, the other boys not far behind it. The job's getting just too hard. Compliance, just work-wise, the whole thing is just getting too hard. We had to have a crew 3 weeks ago. We called a meeting for everybody that we had. We pulled it in there one Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock and we dropped it. We pulled a hand grenade out. We just had to do it. It's not it is a financial thing, but it all comes to that to a degree, but it was a time that we've elected to go. Workers just tapered off that much. It's just not viable to keep going. So, from Leaders Brothers' point of view, it's an end of an era. That's where we're at. No regrets hiding with it. The photos that we reeled through there before, and I put through those time and time again. It's been a wonderful thing for us. It has been our life all the way through it. But comes a time, we all know that. So that's where we're at, basically.
On behalf of the Hamilton Pastoral Museum, I'd like to thank everyone here in this room, as exhibitors, as friends, or visitors travelling through. I know we had even people from Queensland have dropped in and that just for the occasion. I saw it advertised. So give yourself a round of applause for continuing I'd like to also thank ATMOC and that Glenn and his team for the promotion of our event. So far, I think it's exceeded well and beyond what I thought that we'd achieve in that for a weekend. In the early stages, I was talking to the family and that, and I said, I bet we can make the drought break, and that's by running it this weekend. we got a sprinkle of rain, and actually it was to our advantage to settle the dust a little bit. I'd also like to thank the Milton group, or the Milton family and that, for the big effort that Peter and that put in getting gear here. I'd also like to thank Shane Kenny and that for the big effort that he brought so many pieces of equipment to get our numbers up. I'd like to thank David behind me. David's been working with me, and I think we've achieved what we set out. David's very disappointed that we haven't got to 100 units, but that's to come. I'd like to thank the kitchen staff under the guidance of Anne for the work that she's done. And I'd like to thank my family, Linda and Matthew, for the money they put in and the work and hours they put in. Also my wife Alison, she's been the secretary. She did the big Bulldog Rally, she's done this one. So I think it's a credit to her that it's all come off. I'd like to thank Martin Nevis for being our guest speaker, and I'm looking forward to your speech a little bit later. Martin, I've been working in the kitchen and I've missed a lot of your slides and that out there on the screen, but one of these days we'll see it. And that's about all I can say. I just hope that tomorrow that we can get going. While we're down there today doing the working demonstration, I've never seen, and the Grand Prix, I've never seen so many people there stacked up along the fence line and that. So we held their attention, and that's what it's all about. Thanks very much.
I'd just like to thank everyone for the big effort you've put in to make this weekend happen. Like, it's cost everyone a lot of money to truck this big gear in. The two families that have been mentioned have done a massive effort. A few months ago I set out at a museum meeting, we were doing Caterpillar. And I said, we're going to push this, it's worth pushing, like the Bulldog Rally, to get 100. So I'm still on the warpath to get 100. And tomorrow I'm a little bit confident we might have 100. That's for you, Andrew. So anyone that can help us out, we need another half a dozen tractors. We were down to needing 17. We've rounded up a few more. If anyone else can help us out, come and see us after the tea. We've got a few possibilities. So hopefully tomorrow for the Caterpillar Club and for everyone here and all our spectators, that we can get our 100. It's just a milestone. We'll never see 80 Caterpillars at the Hamilton Museum again, let alone 100. So all I'd like to do is thank you very much for your effort, and I hope we can achieve it for everyone here, and thank you for making a good weekend.